Hey man, say man, it's the Greater Podcast, a 4x4 episode on a lovely Saturday afternoon.
Lovely Saturday, 4x4.
Yep.
Yeah. Had to give you more.
All right.
Okay.
That's all y'all getting because I'm not doing freestyles no more.
Right.
Yeah, it's your boy Sam.
A portion. It's Gabe. The blue.
And it's Moses here, Mo Legend. But yeah, and we got a special guest. But before we get to that,
Yes, sir.
we are down a guy. You know,
Yeah,
And it's not me, obviously.
Chocolate Thunder is not on the pod today.
Chocolate Thunder is not on the pod.
Quiet Storm is not on the pod today.
Bill Bellamy is not on the podcast today.
Wow, that is funny. That is funny for
Sorry,
multiple
nah, I'm not
reasons.
gonna do that.
Anyways, but that's
yeah,
crazy.
you know,
yeah.
Remy is unfortunately not with us today. You know, he's securing the bag as
What
we
they
say.
call the
as we
dad
would
on
say.
101? What was his name?
Flex.
Flex
is not with us today. Oscar Proud is not with us.
Yeah, it's time to move
Sorry,
on.
nah, it's time to
Was
move
it
on,
Kelly,
time
y'all?
to
No.
Oh,
that's
shit.
right.
This guy Remy's gonna go in. And
He's going to go in
Let's
the
go.
next pod.
I ain't scared of him.
We love you, Remy.
But yeah, so Remy's not here with us today, but you know, we brought somebody in for a 4x4. You know, it can't be a
someone
4x4
serviceable.
with three people. So
Stamp.
Yes, sir.
we Stamp had to bring somebody in. And she's no stranger to the pod.
Yes.
She's actually no stranger to the Project 330 family.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you know she's actually a special guest.
To somebody.
You know, you gotta deepen your voice. She's a special guest. But no, she's a special guest. And the reason why she's a special guest to me personally, because it is my wife. It is my wife, Katrina Binutu.
Wow.
Many guys may or may not know that I am married, and we have been married for almost 2 years. And it's just great being able to just, do things that we love together, and this is just one of those things. So yeah, man, let's welcome Katrina Binutu to the pod.
Thank you so much for
Katrina.
having me, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Of course.
We also got another
We also-
guest. We
Another
got Baby
special
Hope.
lady in the building.
Yes.
We do.
So, I got to share my screen time with her,
Gabe is
which
actually
I'm totally happy with.
doing Girl Dad this weekend.
He is.
is.
Deb is not with us this weekend. She's actually in, I believe, North Carolina.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Shout
I
out
don't even
Elevation
know.
Church. But she's in Texas for a Christine Kane conference, I believe.
Yes.
So
Well, actually, it's a Propel Women conference. So
Oh,
check
but
that out if
Christine
you want to
Kane
go
is-
next year.
yeah,
Kristen
yeah.
Kane is featured. Yeah.
She's featured in it. Yep.
But I also wanted to say thank you so much for having me. Moses,
Gang.
the father of legends, Gabe, the father of hope,
Yep.
Samson, the father of my future children.
Yes.
Wow.
Future.
Thank you
Of
for
course.
having me on the pod.
Of course. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Y'all, look, hope is, look, if you married and you thinking about having children,
Hey, just look at the camera.
Just
You
go
might
ahead,
as well.
wait.
Tell
Just
him.
wait.
Just
Just-
tell him, look in the
just
camera.
go ahead and
bro.
take some time.
The way
Make sure you think about it thoroughly.
Mm.
Because, man. But it's great. It's a joy,
But nah, shout out
Kids are a
to
blessing.
shout out to Kid, shout out to Hope. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to
Right.
Deb. She probably listening and laughing.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's the Greater Podcast 4x4 episode. But shout out to everybody that listened to our last episode, our episode with Cavens, Lassant. Some people reached out saying that was one of their favorite features.
Yeah.
And that joint was just real, bro. Like,
It was good for us, too, man.
something challenging. Like
Definitely.
I said on the last pod, that was like one of the pods where I was on that it felt like it was just like a mentorship talk. Like you just
That's
sitting
dope.
out with a mentor, and I forgot we was in recording sometimes. That's how it really was. I was just sitting
Dang.
there like,
Yeah, it was
Yo.
convo. It was very convo heavy. Like, yeah, it was just, I felt like he was just giving good wisdom all around for real.
really,
Yeah, so make sure y'all check that out
something challenging.
if y'all haven't.
Check it.
And some of y'all, hey, y'all
Some
might
of y'all
just
need it.
challenge yourselves with that conversation. What?
No, I'm
Sorry, I just had to bring it to the
had
tongue.
to intercede real quick. You know what I'm saying?
But
Wow.
yeah, there was a lot of people that
All right, no, but no, go ahead.
But nah, yeah, there was a lot of people that reached out about the episode. But there were some people that actually, well, one, I won't say this. So there's people that reached out in our DMs about the episode that told us that stuff. But now I wanted to also let y'all know that there's another opportunity for you guys to leave messages and voicemails for us. So now that we're using Anchor, shout out to Anchor, our sponsor. We should probably put the sponsorship right here.
Did you have to leave a space?
But yeah, shout out to Anchor. As Sam says, podcast the right way.
I did say that.
He did.
Catchphrase.
Add that tag.
It's the new joint.
He should.
Podcast the right way.
Copyright that joint. Trademark.
You gotta
that
say it
joint.
in a DJ Khaled voice.
For
Yes.
real. But nah,
Another
yeah, so
one.
so with Anchor, it actually gives us the opportunity to let you guys send voice notes directly to us that will go directly onto the pod. Now, of course, we're going to filter them for sure. But we want to give y'all an opportunity.
We'll be out here, OC.
Right.
Yeah,
Thinking
we
y'all
want,
gonna
Man, I
make the
effing
cut.
love y'all podcast,
Right.
man. It's really just
Nah,
kidding.
we're not doing that.
Nah, it's okay.
Nah,
if,
yeah.
if you do though, please tell
Appreciate
us.
We still love you though,
Nah,
right?
we
We still love you.
that.
But we,
Yeah, nah.
but yeah, we wanted to give y'all the opportunity to be a part of the pod. Like you said, we don't want it to just be about us. We want it to be like a whole community of people that are getting.
Jesus, the way that this girl Hope just did a tumble rumble.
Yo,
Hey.
y'all, Hope is treating us at the couch like a jungle gym.
Bruh,
Go ahead, Devo.
we're on Hope's time today.
yes,
Right, legit.
we are. Hope
She the producer of the podcast
Yeah,
today.
for sure. But yeah, we want to give y'all the opportunity. So look, check out our Instagram captions or our Anchor captions or wherever you find the podcast. There's going to be a link there that you can go on to send Anchor messages to us. But yeah, and there's also emails that you can send the Greater Pod at project330.com or proj330.com.
Yep.
That's in the description as well. But yeah, speaking of that, I wanted to read an email that we got over one of our breaks. I know it's been a minute, but we're getting to it. But yeah, so this is an email that came from one of our listeners during our break. It says, I feel like school and my job dictate my schedule right now. I'm sure you guys also have busy lives, so how do you manage to remain in God's word regularly? I go strong for a couple of days, then I fall off. There are days I either don't feel like it or I run out of time in the morning. Also, I've been taught to give God my first fruits of the day with my time. I don't know if I'm being legalistic as far as studying the word first thing in the morning rather than the evening. I feel guilty if this is the last thing I do in the day is study the word. Like it's the scraps of my time. Is there an importance in one part of the day versus another? Lastly, are there forms of fellowship / personal time with God in addition to reading your Bible? Dang, this guy hit us with a whole bunch.
Yes, that's a good one.
I think it's solid. Yeah, it was really good that he's even thinking about
Open,
this.
yeah.
I think that's the
Even
first
being
step, like
transparent about
awareness.
Yeah.
But even awareness, like, okay, I want to be in my word.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do it? But I think for me, some things he said in there was like really key. It was just kind of like he was talking about how like he didn't want to do it last. How do I give him my first fruit? Da da da. And I think you have to start as important as food is to your body, you have to treat the word of God like that. So I would honestly, to simply answer like most of the question and not be like long-winded in my response, I would just say, center your day around you reading as opposed to you trying to fit reading the word. And I think a part of it should be religious, legalistic, because you have to put in discipline.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be discipline with it. So until it becomes natural, so it's going to be forced initially, but then you're going to see that, you actually feel, sometimes when I read the word of God, I actually physically feel good. Like I feel nourished. So I think it's really just prioritizing it. So if you have a priority list, it goes at the top. Doing that goes at the top. So, give up something else or just you got to force it in, make room for it because you have to treat it like it's dire. But I'm rapping.
I would say one thing I'm trying to learn is to live by a calendar.
Yeah.
Because I try to do the same at work, but also in my personal life. But I think something that can help is you said you're in school and you work. So obviously there's some commute time in there. So I would definitely say like during your commute, whether you're like driving or whether you're taking public transportation, it could be one of those things where you're like knocking two birds out with one stone. So you're headed to work and like, during that commute time, you're reading a word. Even if it's just like not reading a physical Bible, it can be like you listening to like an audio Bible. There are many different forms of listening and engaging in the word. So I would definitely say like just take some commute time to do that and just put it in a calendar. Like if you're someone who doesn't live by calendar, I would encourage you to live by calendar and really just try to literally like map out your day. Like, hey, from this time to that time, like I'm going to be doing this, and from this time to that time, obviously you'll be doing this, whatever that is for you. But I think more so like try to create a system. Obviously, right now it may not be working because there may not be any system that you're putting in place. So I think just trying something different would be just try to create a system for yourself. You know yourself best if reading the word of God at night is best for you. I mean, God is not looking at you like, yo, why are you reading your Bible at night? Like, you should have read it. He's not looking at it like that. He literally just wants your time, whether it's in the morning, whether it's in the night.
And that's the
during
important
the day.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. And also you can communicate with God throughout the day. It doesn't necessarily have to be like you have to be in your prayer closet, secluded, and you can't like talk to God outside of that. Nah, it's like one of those things where you can just like talk to him throughout the day, whether you are at work or whether you're at school. Just there's just different ways of communicating to God, and also worshiping as well. So yeah.
I mean, I'll say like for myself, I know a lot of times we talk about like keeping God first. And then so like some people, from what you said, some people will start their day by reading the word and everything, kind of like doing it, but they don't realize they're doing it as like a checklist. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you're just knocking it out for the day.
Yeah.
And then you're going about
autopilot.
Yeah, you're going about your day. But I realized like doing that, but not being legalistic to the point where like it has to be, that's the first thing you have to do, which although it's good, like starting your day off with the word of God and worship and all that is like, it changes your day for real. Like it's like how for me, I know that when I get workouts in the morning, it makes my day completely different. So like that's a physical workout, but spiritually, if you're doing that same thing, like it sets your entire day up for something, for yourself to be able to do more and be able to have a different perspective on the day.
Yeah.
But I think that also when it comes to keeping Jesus as the center of your life, it's something that doesn't just stay with you when you're done in the morning, but it goes and continues with you. So I'll say focus more so on that rather than being legalistic about what time of the day you're doing it or how long it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like if you're just keeping it at the center and everything that you do is attached to looking towards Jesus, then you'll be straight.
Yeah.
The only thing that I could add to what you all said is that I think that for me personally, putting God first caused me a lot of anxiety, because if I didn't put him first, I felt like my whole day was done and it was going to be a mess. But his mercies new every morning, honey. So
Hallelujah.
like it's not really about the first, it's really
physical.
about the center. So if I'm just making sure that whenever I move into a new space, like what I tend to do is when I'm on my way to work, I read my Bible on my phone.
Yeah.
So that's like my commute on the train. And then if I'm at work and I'm feeling like stressed or anxious, I go into a huddle room, a private room, and I just pray or I'll read my Bible. And then I'll come out after like 30 minutes. I don't care, 15 minutes, whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
Additionally, like if you have lunch breaks, feel free to take that time. And you don't always have to read it. Like you can just listen. Like there's no shame in listening to an audio passage. And I also just want to encourage you to have a devotional with some friends. And if you just do a devotional with some friends, that may help you keep you accountable to the topic that you really want to know more about God through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. But shout out to you. Shout out to you for sending the email and connecting with us. Like we said, like, hey, anybody that wants to reach out, feel free. Like we don't got all the answers, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll try to figure it out with you. We'll try to hear your perspective, throw our perspective in there as well. And just keep it rolling. So yeah, shout out to the people. Please, hey, we're asking, go ahead, send us whatever you want to send us for the 4x4 episodes or in general, feedback on our last podcast or podcast to come. But yeah, so it's a 4x4 episode.
It is a 4x4.
So as you know,
Pew, pew, pew.
I've never had a 4x4 at Wendy's.
Pew, pew, pew.
Oh, you haven't had it before?
Nah.
That's right.
Bro, you
I
tripping.
saw the commercial. I was like, this is a regular meal, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, but
It's
the fact that it's
$4 and you get a
man.
drink
And that joint gets shot away.
and you get some french fry.
And you get a
you
burger.
can tell that they be at 4x4.
We don't eat Wendy's as much as we
Actually,
used
I
to.
don't.
Well,
I'm
we
actually
upgraded our
anti-Wendy's
lives.
at this
You're
point.
actually,
Like,
but
no,
you just did
kidding.
the whole
We still eat
commercial.
Chick-fil-A.
Because, I'm still a little loyal to the brand,
Right,
but I'm
but
not
you're
loyal to the
anti.
food.
Okay.
I'm anti to the food, okay?
Wow.
Yeah, she told
Tell
me
us
she's
more.
not eating
Tell us
Wendy's
more.
We
anymore.
definitely hear you.
But anyway, so for those of y'all who may be listening for the first time, 4x4 episode is when we answer 4 questions sent to us by you guys, either questions or dilemmas on situations that you guys are handling or situations that you guys may see in culture right now. And we take the time to answer them in a timely manner, I guess. But yeah, these are in a timely manner.
Gotta throw that in there.
Right. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off. We're going to get into it. We got a whole bunch of questions that we're going to be picking from. So who wants to go first?
I can go first. Yeah, nah. 'Cause look at hope. Oh man. Anyways, so question number 1: why is Christian dating so weird?
This guy gave remember off the top of his head.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it was, it's a question that people. Anyways, so
Now define weird.
Question 1, right? Define weird. I guess weird can mean Why is it so strange? Why is it foggy? Why does it seem harder than dating, like, you know, when you're not a Christian? Why is it
tense?
Yeah.
Any
other words?
Why is it boring?
Popcorn? Boring. Okay,
boring.
come on.
Wow.
I thought it was boring.
Anybody?
I'm saying for the people who's not doing it right.
Anybody else
How
got
we do
anything
it-
else?
how we do it right?
Boring? No.
How do you do it right? We'll get there. We'll get there.
I mean, hey, but nah. So, you know, I think it's just a bad misconception of just a lot of people who
so
don't
many
know
misconceptions.
how to. Man, I think it's a lot of people who don't know how to.
This is the thing. When you're awkward and before you're saved, you're gonna be awkward after
I
you're
think
saved.
it gets
Their
more
personality doesn't really change for.
Yeah, nah. And I think personally for me, like, I think people think way too hard about certain moves. You know, like, I think you should do everything with prayer.
Yeah.
So I think you should treat every decision like you would treat a move, like, God, should I take this job? You know, like, I think you should still, you know, go on dates with people or whatever and pray during those, you know, like, during that time, like, but I don't think you have to pray to God before you accept a date, you know, or whatever. Like,
what if the person's crazy and want to kill you?
I mean, I think there are basic principles that show you in life that people are crazy. You know, I don't think you should just go out with anybody.
Ted Bundy.
You know, you're scaring me. Anyways, but yeah, no, so, you know, I mean, God forbid anything could trigger.
God forbid.
But
look Ted Bundy up.
But literally make sure it's just I think it's like, while you're doing this, if you're really devoting yourself to the Lord, you can just be able to hear his voice. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like, while you're trying to think about the person to give attention to or whatever, the dating process, just go on a date. If you like somebody and you find them attractive, ask them out to a date, bro. You don't have to over spiritualize it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you don't have to be out here giving your body. You know what I'm saying? It's just a balance between two things. And then when you're feeling serious about it, then pray. Talk to some accountability. You know what I'm saying? Make sure your friends, your people know her so they can give you advice. Not advice, but, you know, does she seem right for me? And it's really that simple. Just go on the dates.
Yeah.
Include accountability, you know what I'm saying, with your spiritual authority, your pastor, your mentor, whoever, you know what I'm saying, like, and stop making it so spooky.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you say stop making it so spooky, because I think that there are a lot of different kinds of Christians out here, right? And all of us are supposed to be a royal priesthood, a chosen generation, a chosen people, a peculiar people.
Come on.
That means weird, strange.
Come on.
So most people, whether they're Christian or not, they're strange. They're a little bit weird. And I don't think that we need to put a lot of pressure on one another in terms of dating.
And we do.
And I think that may make it weird. That may be that thing. But as far as, like, you being, you know, you have your convictions about things, or the person that you're dating has convictions, like, oh, I don't want to kiss until we're married. If you find that weird, find somebody else.
Right.
I mean,
because that's not weird to them.
Yeah.
And so they can find someone who supports that quirk.
Yeah.
But that's something that actually supports their relationship with God. You can also find someone that also supports the ways that you want to engage with God too. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that you're weird. You just need to find your right tribe, your right people group, your right significant other.
Same
so
thing
that's
with friendships.
I think so.
But I think it's like, dating in itself is already weird, especially in our culture today.
Word
like,
to the
saved or not saved, like, dating is weird.
It's hard out here.
There's so many different options. There's so many different methods of dating. There's so many different, like, there's just so much out there. So people are already confused in itself.
So did you guys ever consider dating to be weird? Because as I'm thinking about, like, just relationships I've been in, I don't know if I ever considered it like,
I didn't think dating was weird.
The only thing I considered weird was the opposite sex.
Yeah,
because I was afraid of my girls. But once I got to, like, high school, I didn't really find it weird. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the initial
process is,
I think
like,
the initial, like, how do I see if she's interested, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, finding the mutual interest. I think that can be, like, a little, like, hard or difficult to find out. But I think, like, after that, like, once you realize the person's actually interested in you, I don't know. I don't really feel like it's weird at that point.
You're assuming that I think the issue is that people don't really communicate. So y'all could be seeing each other and you don't even know if this person likes you like that. You don't know if they just want to sleep with you. You don't know if they just find you attractive and they want some of your time. Some people just want to be friends, and then the other side wants to, be in a relationship. So I think all these scenarios, even as we get older, some people like enjoying the moment. and they don't want to put titles on it or boundaries and stuff like that.
I
And
think,
so then-
that's good because it's like it's weird. It becomes weird when you guys aren't clear on what.
Yes,
the heck is
that's
happening.
weird.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
That's
I
weird.
I think
that's
as
the-
adults,
really buggy.
you don't do that.
but the thing is, like,
People don't do that.
saved or not saved, when you're not clear on what the vision is or what the intention is of this person, it becomes weird because now you guys are both. Well, one person's probably walking on eggshells trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Does this person like me? Does this not like me? So now everything that you do is attached to the confusion that you don't know what is going on. So, you know, I say the answer is weird because people aren't clear. And that's one thing.
Yep.
And then the second thing is that outside of I'll say inside the church there, it's already weird outside, but inside, like, it's a totally
Super
new
weird.
realm. So it's like, what do we do? And
Part
then
of it,
people start just adjusting to whatever somebody did in the church, and you don't know if it's right or wrong. So
Yeah.
you just know that that's what that model is for that church or this community that we're in. So I'm gonna do that way, even if it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I remember for myself, first time dating within like the church, I was like, what the heck? I can't drive with you in the car. Like, that was a rule.
Yeah.
That somebody had. I was like, what you think I'm gonna do in the car? Like,
Man, have car sex, something.
Yeah, you can do a lot in the car.
Explain
but
to
I'm
that,
saying, like,
or-
I mean,
There's-
people
I
go
know
to
what
the
you're
next level, and
They do.
like,
Nah.
Yeah.
Some people can't handle themselves, and that's just
And that-
it's like watching.
just gotta know
because I
yourself.
think with Christianity, you just have to have more boundaries because
Yeah,
you're not
definitely.
casually. There's no casual sex, or there shouldn't be
Right,
casual
there
sex.
shouldn't-
You
but
know what I'm saying?
that's another
So,
thing. Like, it's
you know,
it's not even as if there was like a you can't drive together because this and that. It's just like you can't
some people
drive
just
together.
say,
Yeah, some people wouldn't even give you
Yeah.
like, an explanation to like why.
and
it.
that's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes in Christian leadership,
Rules without
And
explanation.
it's
they
like,
also don't communicate
yeah,
too. So
tell me the why.
I think part of the weird is just not knowing the rules to dating, the rules of engagement. Oh, I think part of the issue is not knowing the rules of engagement,
Yeah.
and then not knowing what your particular church culture is. I think some is very explicit, like oh, we're not going to be here late at night. We're not going to be on the phone late at night. We date in groups or But like, there's some nuances that if you're
It's
new
gray.
to a location, you're not going to know that thing. So that also may make it weird because you don't know what leadership has as an expectation of you.
Right.
Should I tell you that I'm in a relationship?
Right.
Oh, I don't care. Have
Right.
fun. It's like, wait a minute, you're my pastor. Why are you telling me to have fun?
Right.
Like, what does that mean to
Right.
have
Yeah,
fun?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like all these things that we don't have defined for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we have to figure it out on our own. And then we feel like we're rogue. We're doing things on our own. We can't tell anybody if we're stumbling, having
Right.
issues. And so that also makes it weird because then it's like this feeling of, man, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I feel like I can't talk to nobody.
Right.
Who can I
But
share
I'm
this with
supposed
to
be,
help me?
but,
Nobody's
yeah.
being
You know what I'm
real.
saying?
Nobody's being real with you
Right.
about everything that they've experienced, but it's just wild. I also
It is
say
wild.
this, like, you need to examine the culture that you're in and see what like dating looks like there, bro. Because it's not by force. You don't gotta be in that culture or whatever
Yeah.
pressure that you feel. Now,
Right.
let me say this: not everything that is taught, there is a lot of good thing in terms of boundaries, in terms of guarding your heart, intentions, letting all that be known. But it's not by force that like you have to do dating or relationship the exact way that you saw either your leader do it or your pastor do it or your church friends do it or
Yep.
just in general. Like, it's not by force. You
Yeah,
can't.
people's process is going to look
Yeah,
different.
you
Right.
can't mold. So it becomes also weird when you try to make your relationship into what your friend Bobby and Sally down the street did. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Where Bobby and
Dang.
Sally, like, they're
That's Bobby and Sally.
Yeah.
Chemistry and they're- yeah. it's
then you're gonna be
just
trying to have a
different.
Bobby and Sally wedding,
Dog,
Bobby and Sally marriage.
you're going to be miserable.
Yeah. Shout out Bobby and Sally.
I think it's more so like looking at people at like in dating how they treat the other person. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as just like their actions. I think that's something that you can learn across the board. But it's
Yeah.
not necessarily action as in this is how this person acts this person out. Or like this is how this person proposes to this person. It's more so just like, hey, this is how this person treats their wife when they're upset. Or this is how
Yes.
this person speaks to their husband when they're upset. I think little things like that you can pick up from like other couples when you're dating. It's like, oh wow, like I didn't really know that I should open the door for my girlfriend. Or I didn't really know that I should like pull her chair out when we go to restaurants. Like stuff like that. I feel like
Yeah.
you can learn, but not necessarily like modeling your whole relationship after another couple. Because obviously, like you said, Moses, it's different. Like everyone's relationship
And there's
is going to be different.
there's a lot of gray area. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no black and white
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
dating
Sometimes.
And even like some to an there's a lot of clarity when it comes to marriage and how, because we model after Christ, how he loved the church. But there's also some gray area there too. You know what I'm saying, in terms of like what to do in certain situations. But definitely for sure in dating, there's a lot of gray, and I think a lot of people try to make it black and white, and that's when it becomes weird too, because it's like,
should I say this?
Yeah.
It's not. You don't know when to start talking about finances with the person. Like, how soon should I talk? Ask them for the credit score.
How should I feel going in?
How should I feel going in?
When should you tell them if you're a virgin or if you're not? Like, sexual partner. Like, just,
I mean, I think to really answer the question, it's so weird because, you know, boundaries, leadership, sometimes miscommunication, lack of communication, expectations, unrealistic sometimes.
Yeah.
I think just the same way it's weird. I think it's weird, you know, like outside of Christianity, but Christianity just adds that, you know, like we're not supposed to be having sex, so we're not solving our problems that way. So things get a little more weird because we're like actually figuring things out, you know,
actually doing a relationship.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people replace problems with sex, and romance blinds them until they get married, and then they can have romance all the time, and then the actual issues come out when they could have solved it, you know, before the ring and stuff. But yeah, no, I mean,
for real though,
that was that.
Son, let's leave it at that.
This guy was funny.
Dating is weird because we're all weird.
For real.
All weird.
Thanks, Sam.
Everybody's weird in their own way.
Thanks.
You know what I'm saying?
Sam's definitely weird.
I'm not
you said
weird.
what?
I said Sam's weird.
I am weird.
I'm not weird.
You know, but I'll take pride in being weird.
Say nah.
Weird got me where I am today.
Thanks.
As a person.
This guy's giving his biography.
All right. So I'll do the second question. So it says, I'm at a point in my walk where I am doubting a lot. Have you guys ever gone through this? And what do you do to come out? I think there's different types of doubts. I don't really know in what area you're doubting. But I know, like, for me, I think I kind of look at God as, you know, being the same today, yesterday, forevermore. I know you guys hear that all the time. But it's more so just like if I'm in a season of doubt, whether like I'm doubting my capabilities or whether I'm doubting my progress or whether I'm doubting my future, what that looks like. I think for me, it's like I think back in certain seasons of my life where I had like a lot of doubt to the point where even people were like doubting me. It was just like a lot of pressure, and to the point where it was just like I was saying I was trusting God, but I was really just like doing things out of my own will and doing things out of my own strength. But then there are times where I really just kind of like look back and think of in those seasons where I doubted how the Lord kind of like, you know, brought me out of those situations, like how he showed his face in those situations, and how like 3-4 months from that time I wasn't even thinking about like how doubtful I was in that season because of how the Lord brought me out of it. So I think there will be seasons of doubt, especially like when you're stepping into something new, like whether you're a new father or you're a new husband, you're doubting your capabilities of, or you're thinking you're incompetent.
You've never been there.
You know, because you've never been there. So you're like, man, I feel incompetent because, like, you know, I'm at this new role in my job. I've never been in this role before, and they're expecting me to do this. And because of that, I feel like I'm doubting that I will last longer than 3 months at this company.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just an example, but there's so many different ways in life where you're doubt. But at the end of the day, I think it's more so just, number one, having grace for yourself when you make mistakes, especially like me being a husband. I put a lot of pressure on myself to know what to do in a lot of situations or how to handle things. And it's just like, I had to learn just to have grace over myself because obviously I've never been here before. There's no type of tutoring that comes with being a husband. Yeah, you can, like, you know, model your life after other husbands that you've seen growing up. But
no, that's good.
Like,
that's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see the true ins and outs of being a husband. You just see like the outer shell.
You get a humble guideline.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
You know, from people older than you.
Yeah, so it's just like, you know, that was just one doubt that I had. Like, that was a doubt that I had before I even got married, like how I was going to provide for my family financially, like being a creative. That was a huge doubt that I had. But that's just one area where I had to like really submit to the Lord and really just trust him. You know what I'm saying? Because literally I was afraid to get married because I was afraid of how I was going to provide for my family.
Yeah.
And it's something that I don't think about today because the Lord, you know what I'm saying? Like he's
Hallelujah.
good. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just thinking back of those times in your life where you were in another season of doubt and just remembering how God came through for you. And just always keeping a track record of how the Lord came through for you in those seasons of doubt because they're going to come, but it doesn't end there.
Right.
I like that route that you took because when I first read the question, I was thinking like just doubting faith and stuff like that. But I don't realize like when you doubt yourself a lot of times, it's because you're doubting God. You know what I'm saying? You're doubting that he's made you in his image and stuff. So I'll say like the way I was looking at it first, doubting faith, like I don't know if I ever really went. I more so doubted myself than I doubted like God. But they're kind of synonymous. Or is that the word? Synonymous?
Yeah.
All right, shout out Cornell.
Shout out Georgetown.
He said, "Shout out Cornell."
But yeah, so it was like it's kind of synonymous. Like for me,
I'm just laughing because that's not where Moses went.
no,
Right.
I asked.
Not where he
I was asking
It's-
Katrina
Yeah, right,
if it was
no, I
right.
know.
Dang, I just put her
know.
whole
This
school
is
out there.
funny.
Maybe she
right.
don't want people to know.
Right. Biography.
Too late now.
Wikipedia.
Well, praise God.
But shout out to Ivy League. But yeah, but yeah, I'll say
Thanks,
like
you.
for me, doubt really came from doubting myself.
Right, I'm sleeping.
Doubt really came from doubting myself, and doubting like my capabilities. Am I enough? That type of stuff.
True.
Like growing up, and we kind of shared this a little bit on the
Boys to Men.
Boys to Men episode, like growing up without a father figure in the household, a single mother, starting playing sports. A lot of times, like I was seeking for approval to see, like, am I enough?
Yeah.
Seeking like the cheer, the father figures to come from coaches or whatever it may be. So I realized like all of that really came from doubt and lack of knowing my identity in Christ. And that's kind of like where a lot of my doubt came from. Like, am I enough? Because I didn't really know who I am. And so like my experience with that, and I'm still kind of like learning about a lot of that now, like how that affected me and how that is affecting me in like different areas. Even like what Sam was saying, like in a relationship, marriage, like am I enough for this? You know what I'm saying? You never seen a father in your household, let alone somebody that just a marriage that you can consistently see coming home to.
Yeah.
Like it's like, so you doubt that, like, am I enough for that? Because I don't know what it looks like.
Or is it real?
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of doubt, but I think to the root of it, it just comes back to once you have that doubt, going back to the foundation of like the basics of faith. You know what I'm saying? Finding your identity in Christ.
Yeah.
And you only find that really through knowing who Jesus is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like for me, it's just going back and like
Hallelujah.
identifying the things that I'm doubting in and why I'm doubting in that.
Yeah.
And like trying to bring those things to God. You know what I'm saying? He's not scared of our doubts. He's not scared of like the things that we are insecure about or the things that like we are questioning and all that. Even if it's him that we're questioning, I think it's just like bringing it to him and exposing those areas and being like, yo, hey God, I don't think I could do this. You feel me? Like, because I had that talk with him all the time. Like, dang God, is this, you want me to do what? You want me to do this? So I think it's just bringing those things to God and testing them, testing them at it. Like, this is what you want me to do? All right, like, you're going to have to give me some type of like peace about it.
Yeah.
Or give me something that's going to help me. So I think that's really what it comes from.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's going to come like all the time.
All the time.
If your faith is not being doubted, I question let me not say question your walk, but I question how deep you're getting into
deep.
your walk with God. Because like, if you're not being challenged daily, like if what you're doing, if your walk is not being challenged daily, then you may not be going deep enough. You know what I'm saying? Or you may not really be like putting yourself out there for God to really move.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it definitely does. I think that what you said that struck me was the fact that you had to take whatever that you had, and say to God, hey, if this is what you want me to do, like, I'm going to test you at this. And I think that's really critical, because what you're doing is you're surrendering your doubt. You're saying, hey, God, you said this, I'm going to trust you in this moment. And, I totally identify with just thinking, am I enough for this? Am I enough for marriage? Am I enough for this job? Am I enough for my future? And like, I'm at a point personally where I don't doubt that I'm going to have a great future. It's just the doubt of, how am I going to get to point A to point B? Yeah. That's the doubt. Yeah. And so right now, I'm just going to share with you what I'm doing. I'm just wrestling. Like, I am going through that. I surrender, God. Whatever you have for me, I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to be faithful in whatever this stage is. Because listen, Joseph didn't go from one elite Egyptian school to then become the second in command of Egypt. This man, Joseph, was a slave. That was his school. That was his institution. That was his elite institution, a slave,
Right.
slavery. Then he went to prison. That was his PhD. So if you think about that, you don't need a degree to do what God has for you.
Right.
It's not about that making you worthy. That's just your qualification. Like God, what he wants to do, he will do it whether you have the thing that you're looking for or not, because he wants to do it through you.
Yeah.
It's all about how he wants to partner with you. And if we're afraid to say, God, I want to partner with you back, then it's going to just prolong the journey.
You know what's crazy is like, I remember I said if you don't have any type of doubt, then like something's going on. And it kind of struck me like, yo, if you don't have doubt is the opposite of doubt is like confidence. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you have too much confidence in yourself, it's like God's like, I can't really do nothing with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go ahead and figure it out on your own. Go ahead, try whatever you want to try. You're gonna realize that you ain't enough. You feel me? So like,
and you gotta come to that point.
So doubt, it's not even, I want to say that I'm actually happy that you're going through doubt, because it gives God an opportunity for him to fill that with him. You know what I'm saying? Fill that with the confidence that he has in you, the love that he has for you. Because once you're filled with that, like, it's way different than having confidence in yourself.
Right.
Like, it's like a confidence in yourself on steroids.
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, even for somebody who's listening to that is questioning like, yo, have I ever doubted, God, or have I ever doubted what he wants me to do, or has everything just been like cake? You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to wrestle with that. Like, I feel like once you wrestle with that, you really start to get into like the groove of things with God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Word.
That's so good.
Whenever someone say that, I just be thinking of like all the church people that just be so good. So good.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Wow. Wow. But yeah.
So I'm going to read the next 4x4 question. I don't know if this guy's name is Cavens. Is it Cavens? Okay.
You know you can adjust your mic.
LOL. I'm doing struggle. Okay.
Doing a rookie.
Cavens mentioned on the last pod that Black men are the least checked upon and feel the most pressure from society and church. As a Black woman, can you guys touch on that in more detail, on your experience and how we can better help?
Yeah. I think
Katrina, do you have anything to...
Let me listen. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to be schooled.
Yeah,
funny.
I need education.
What did he say? He was like at first he did preface it by saying like black women are one of the most like under, I forgot the exact words he's saying, but
pretty
like
much I feel like, I think the gist of what he was saying was just to describe that Black women, by being women and being Black women, are like, they face the most. And I think that's why he said are the most like pressure. How, could you?
Yeah, let me read that
one more time. That's why I think that's why he phrased it like that, because an acknowledgement of what Black women go through.
The least checked upon, and feel the most pressure from society. Right.
Feel the most pressure from society.
Yeah, society and church. So he was saying that, but then he also talked about how a lot of times men are in society and in culture just feel a lot of pressure about like being the sole provider, being what is he saying, like the 5 P's, the pastor, the prophet,
priest,
the provider, the priest, all that stuff.
Dang, that's a lot of P's.
Yeah, like he was saying all that, like literally you have to be everything to your wife and more. So he was saying that, but then he also said like Sam
and I just looked at each other.
Hey, shout out to that married insiders.
Yeah, man.
But he was also saying that like a lot of times people don't check up on Black men because of like the persona or the image that we're that too. Like, we're strong, we're good, like we can get through anything. And I think a lot of times like we have projected that, because like I remember, many of the father figures in my life, and like especially the African father figures in my life, you never saw like any type of emotion type. You never, like, everything was good. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong. So I think to an extent, we may be played into that persona or that stereotype, whatever it may be. So, but he's saying like the least checked upon, like when there's a car, nobody really checks or a building, nobody checks the maintenance. But yeah, so like from I'll say my experience, I think I'm still struggling with that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I do play into that role of like everything is good. You know, sometimes to the point where people ask me if things good, I'm like, yeah, like I'm just thinking in my head, like, are they good type stuff? Like I don't really. It's gotten to the point where I have to really analyze what I'm feeling, and I think that also because it's not really. I don't really share that much, but also people don't really ask that much. Where it's like I don't know how to. I'm still figuring out how to best figure out those feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling that way? It's too much. It's too much energy to try to figure out. So I'm gonna just say I'm good type stuff.
I think it also depends on the environment and like if that person feels like they have a safe space to even share what they're going through. And if it's someone that's asking you like, "Yo, how you been? How you doing?" and it's just like you're not really close to that person or you don't sense a connection with that person. It's just like, nah, I'm not necessarily gonna like pour out and let you know like how I'm really doing. You know what I'm saying? But if it's just like you're with your friends or you're with like people you feel like you can be transparent around, I definitely feel like there's a space for anyone to really be transparent, to really like allow people to kind of have an insight of like what they're going through. I think it just all depends on who you're around. You know what I'm saying? Like who you're around, who's around you, and stuff like that. But I also feel like as men, it's not necessarily encouraged to really talk about your feelings. Just straight up.
Growing up,
you know what I'm
especially
saying?
not,
Like, it's not really encouraged to talk
It's
about
weird,
like how
it's-
insecure you're feeling.
Yeah.
Or
Oh my
like
God.
how lonely you're feeling.
Because
Or
it's not
like,
it's not a norm. You
it's
know what
not
I'm
a
saying?
norm.
Like it's
Yeah.
a
You know what I'm
norm
saying?
for women.
Yeah, so for women, you see it on TV. You see it's even pushed through media. Like you see women linking up with the girls, talking about like how their men ain't ish. But there's a place for women. But at the end of the day, that's a place that we're seeing where women feel like they can really like talk about like their issues. In movies, some movies you'll see some men coming around talk about stuff. But it's like mainly talking about their women. It's not like, yo, like I'm feeling really insecure at my job right now, bro. Like it's always something about either the woman or that's mainly it that you see on media. You know, so it's just like if we're just growing up and we're seeing that on TV.
Job.
Yeah, like we're seeing that on TV. We're just like, okay, maybe us as men shouldn't be talking about stuff like that. You know, maybe we should only be talking about like, oh, wives are driving us crazy, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But again, I think if you're someone who actually wants to get through what you're dealing with
and grow,
you know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's just something, it's an initiative that you just have to take on upon yourself to really just open up. You know what I'm saying? Like definitely open up and share with people what you're going through, even if that makes you uncomfortable. Because I think that's a part of the growth, and that's a part of transparency that we don't like as men. Is the uncomfortability that comes with it. It's just like, man, like I really feel like this is awkward, or I really feel like I've never talked about this in front of my boys before. This is new. This is like new territory, and so I don't really know if I can like really speak on this. And it's just like, nah, like
it be coming from pride too. Like,
and it's pride. You know what I'm saying? Like you want your man.
I think that pride comes from a place where it's like the image that you're taught a man is when you're growing up. It wouldn't, because I don't think you would find a sense of pride of looking, you know, rough and tough or, you know, whatever you want to deem it if you weren't like conditioned that way growing up. I think growing up is just kind of like, you know, if you fall down and cry, you know, a lot of times a father figure of the generation of our fathers would be like, don't cry like a girl. Like, you know, or stop crying. Why are you crying?
I do think some dudes just be soft though.
Stuff. I mean, I don't, and that's part of the problem.
No.
Soft can be subjective. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
You
How is that soft? You know, people's pain threshold is different. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
Okay, maybe I was wrong.
Right, you were.
I
It's the corrected moment right
This guy
now.
about to be a
I do know
hard
some
father on
soft
his
people.
son, bro.
This guy said I do know some stuff, but no, I think legit. You know, we see an example of it right there. But no, so you know, I think legit, like, you know, it's your peers too when you're growing up. A lot of times, like if something's hard for you but it's not hard for others, you're judged by that. You know, like as a male, it's like it's all about your strength. You know, how hard are you taking all your problems and not, you know, like God forbid a guy just be stressed out about what he's going through, you know, like in certain facets. So I think it's just, and I'm hoping, you know, like the kind of things that I see on Twitter and stuff, and I would use Twitter as a measuring stick for kind of like our generation's thoughts, you know, about things. I think that it's been a little more comfortable for guys to express, you know, like love for one another. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, you always see those jokes where it's like girls will be like fake mad at the fact that guys would rather be with their boys than, go out on date night.
Yeah, don't be fake mad.
And
They
so,
really be mad.
no, I mean, it's,
They be
and that's
mad.
why I
They
said
be
fake
real
mad,
mad.
because
They be
I'm not
mad.
about to say who's mad. or
Right,
not.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's,
I know
you know,
you're mad.
As Gabe looks at me in my eye, it's you,
Hey,
Katrina.
wow. Anyways, I'll sleep.
I am
But it's legit. Like, I think it was just an upbringing thing. So now I think we have to recondition ourselves and say, it's okay for me to say that this thing hurt me. It's weird as a guy to say that, like, I was hurt by this, And I think
Right.
sometimes women don't give us the sympathy they expect for their problems too.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
like we're looking. Sometimes we look.
Rewind.
This guy's
Say
funny.
that again.
Sometimes when women are hurt by something that we do, they look for a certain level of sympathy, empathy, whatever. And then when we're hurt by something maybe of the same level or whatever, I think it's just kind of like, I did this minor thing. You should be okay. You're a guy. You know,
And then
you don't
like
need
a
as
quick,
much
A quick
Depends on
sorry.
who your spouse is.
nurturing. Yeah.
You
I mean,
know-
some women are raised differently. You know what
my
I'm saying?
wife does a great job.
thank you. I don't know if
Guys
this is
want-
like
this
him
guy's
doing
want-
brownie points.
scoring
or
brownie
he's
points
doing
right now.
brownie-
But-
You gotta store them up for later.
It's okay. Thanks. But nah, so it's just.
Let's
it's
go on the
just-
record. All the 330 women
Right,
are,
no, it's that.
they're good.
Right, yeah, they're good.
And that
We're
was the
good on
moment.
cover
and
all
that was
bases.
the moment baby Binutu was born. Anyways, but it's just
Hey,
it's
born
just-
or
it was
conceived?
just-
What is going on?
whatever
I'm doing
you
married.
wanna, But yeah. So long story short, I think it's just really about like that upbringing and what we're trying to do now to eradicate that. But yeah, man, fellas, make sure like don't let all these expectations and pressures get to you. Sometimes you have to know what you're able to do and what you're capable to do. And if you're not able to do as much as,
I think,
whatever, then it's okay. Like,
I also do think so I think there are two extremes, right? When it's like either you don't share anything or you just like share everything. But I think there's what I meant by, let me clarify. What I meant by soft is
go ahead, clarify.
Clear that up.
Clarify
Mine's
before you get
lack-
canceled.
Right.
a lack of emotional maturity. So what I mean by that is like,
I'm listening.
it's just like, there's a difference between guys that get in a relationship and they're just like a brick wall. They can't share nothing. You know what I'm saying? You got to break them down. But then there's other guys that get in a relationship and it's just like they're 100% invested by the first DM type stuff. And it's just like they're sharing everything. Every single thing that you do, it's like, oh, I'm offended by this, that, because it stems from somewhat insecurity. So I'll say insecurities is what sometimes leads to emotional immaturity.
But we all have insecurity, bro.
Yeah, but it's
saying.
but I think it's just a matter of noting, like being in tune with your emotions to the point like where how you know how to navigate.
So are you saying if you're not in tune, you're weak?
I'm not saying none of that.
Right.
What I'm
You were
trying,
wrong.
let me
You were wrong, bro.
okay.
Think about it. Clean
I'm
it up
wrong.
a little later. Take your time.
Take away.
listening.
It's like that.
Take away.
Let him land.
Take away. Yeah, let me land, fam. Take away what I said about soft.
Okay.
Let's just focus on just
everybody.
being-
Make sure you clear it for the record.
Subtract.
Okay.
Let's just make sure that we are being emotionally like mature and are working on getting to that point. I don't think we're ever going to be like emotionally mature. You know what I'm saying? Well, no. Let me take that back too.
Right.
I'm thinking on the spot, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
We're all
okay.
thinking on the spot, boys.
We
We're
trying-
with you.
yo,
We're with you. We're
we
trying to
trying-
we
understand.
trying to figure it out.
Nah, we
It's cool.
listening.
I
We're
think
giving
it's-
you the room. You
it's
know what I'm
just-
saying? That's what we're trying to do.
The space.
Right.
Mhm.
The room to really analyze your feelings.
Right.
Don't act too fast on the feelings.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't react.
Examine them. Really dive deep to where they're coming from. Don't be on the extremes of being like a brick wall that they gotta like figure out what the heck you're thinking or whatever you're doing. But don't be on the other extreme where it's just like you're too emotional to the point where your significant other can't lean on you because
Right.
you're inconsistent.
Right.
There it is.
Okay,
I
there we
landed.
go.
I landed.
Coming
You
through.
feel
He
me?
coming through with it.
I landed. You feel me? Because to an extent, like not even to an extent, we are the backbone to our relationship in the sense of like the security, the foundation. A lot of times we're looked to that for that foundation.
Usually, yeah.
Like if I come to, and Katrina, being the woman on the pod, let me know if I'm wrong, if I'm right.
Sure.
But a lot of times, like if there's no consistency in what you see in your significant other as a man, then it's just like you don't know what you're gonna get one day emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So your relationship
I
can
feel
go
like that plays on both
one way.
sides. Though.
That's what I was about
It
to say,
does.
too.
It does.
Some
It
women
does.
be waking up and it's different.
It does. But I think that like as a man, you for sure want to have that
Stability, emotional.
Yeah.
I'm about to make you upset, right?
I mean, it's not my.
I feel like
it's just my thought.
Of this question right here, right now, because you're saying as a man, you need to make sure. I think both sides need to.
Yeah. Both, but you also have to acknowledge that God has made women and men different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To an extent, like it's just a fact that
right.
So like knowing your role, the role that you play.
I don't even want to say role because
that
just gets to. It's just. I think there's in all areas of life. I think there needs to be consistency for a man. I mean, for women and men in general.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say men.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think there just needs to be consistency in that, but lead in that consistency. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Lead in that.
So that it helps you lead in all other areas
Initiate
of the relationship.
Okay.
So I hear what you're saying.
We're not going to cancel you, but
we're definitely not going to cancel Moses.
I may be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
I think that I hear what you're saying because of the sense of being consistent in the home. We're just all looking at Hope because she fell asleep.
Yeah,
she's knocked in that chair.
Right
she was terrorizing us. It was. And I put her in a little high chair. And she's
snoring.
Gone.
Baby snoring. It's so cute.
Anyways.
But yeah, so I'm just thinking about how the man has to be consistent in terms of like how God kind of or how Paul describes marriage in the Bible when we see that, the husband needs to be more like Christ and how Christ gave up his life for the church, and then women should honor their husbands. And so in that context, I understand what you're saying, Moses. The only thing that I can't reconcile is the fact that, because we're human, we all come from broken families and we're all very flawed. If the man is having a difficult time and the woman is better off to handle that, then I think that, she should really be that safe space for him to be able to confide and have his emotional
proactively.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we want everyone to be emotionally healed and whole. And if someone cannot express themselves emotionally and they're really struggling, they're going through depression and they're a male and their wife is like, oh, no, I don't feel safe. Like, if you're in a space to say, hey, like, let me really hear you out. Let me help you. Let's get you a therapist. Like, then do that. You may have to be the backbone in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think it's an unhealthy expectation to think that, the man always got it. Like he always has to have it together. He always has to have a strong emotional sense.
Right.
Because it's not realistic.
No.
Especially if you come from a place where you don't have a dad, or you come from a place where
we're not raised
in a perfect world.
But even like, when you watch the 300 movies, those little boys, like they're prepared for war, like when they're kids. But nobody's bred like that in real life. Like there's no emotional IQ, class that you take while you're growing up. So the expectation is weird.
Yeah, we're all learning on the fly. And what's interesting too is like, I remember when Sam and I got together.
Come on.
It's not
No,
bad.
you talked about this before.
Wait, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't say this.
What?
Be transparent on this.
Sam has
transparent?
definitely said some things that he ain't talked to you about. It's like, nah,
This is accurate. Let me clear the air.
JK.
I'm just
do
playing.
it past aside.
I was about to say that, but I was like, let me not put her.
Go ahead,
love
go
my
ahead.
past aside.
No, of course. It was just
Shout out to the Chandlers.
So anyway, I was just gonna say that, when Sam and I got together, I don't know how early you're supposed to, be vulnerable and tell like your whole past and whatnot, but I definitely did. And I just was like, this is my baggage. I don't want you to come into this relationship thinking that, everything is sweet.
Yeah.
Like I have emotional challenges. Like I'm really, but I'm self-aware about it, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Healthy.
he was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And the thing
That's how it
is
sounded.
not
I'm
quite.
just kidding.
I'm summarizing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't even know why I put the high pitched voice.
My Sam voice.
That's that carbon voice.
But anyway, so like as our relationship progressed and I'm going through and telling him stuff and I'm seeing how he responds to his stuff, I realize that he may not be as aware of what he has going on emotionally. And I think some guys are not aware of it.
Yeah,
and then some guys are.
We're not
just like some women are and some women are not.
Yeah.
And so this kind of brings me to two questions. I want to go back to her question about how can women help. But before I get into that, I was reading a book by Brene Brown, and it's called Daring Greatly. It's a great book. And she was saying that she had an encounter with a man at one of her book signings, and the wife had come and wanted her to sign the book, and then the guy had stood behind her and was like, "Hey, I want you to leave so I can ask Brene Brown a question." The wife was like, "No, please, please," and he was like, "No, please, like I need to ask her a question." So he asked her a question, and he said, "What's your research on men, emotional health on men?" And she was like, "I don't study men. I only study women." And then he said to her, "That's convenient. Women would rather see men sit on their high horse and pretend to be strong when they're really dying inside than to see the real vulnerability within." And I think that, you know, as a society, we need to be comfortable with everybody's vulnerability. We need to be comfortable with everybody. And I don't mean like, oh, we just need to sit in the mire and sit in the crap and stay here and be like, yeah, self-pity club. No, but like really be authentic and help one another get through. Give room so that people can be honest about where they are. And then in addition to that, say it's okay if you have baggage. It's okay if you struggle. Like I struggle too. Let's help each other. In marriage, like that's what it's about. But then like in friendship, you know, you have to have that as well. You have to have that connectivity.
That's true. Well, Sam,
can somebody run back the question so we can
let me run my question.
I'll say shout out to Katrina, because I mean definitely like you're right. Like I said, I was thinking on the spot, but you're right. Like the consistency, I didn't really think about both sides. You know,
you're growing
on it. You know,
you're growing. You're good.
You're right.
Give Moses room.
I'm still trying to figure it out too. You know, I'm still trying to figure it out too. And I think the second part of the question was, what type of pressures do we feel? Or because there's so many pressures from society and the church, in our personal experiences with that, and how women can help with that.
Yeah.
So I think. Nah, go ahead, Sam. I'm still thinking my thoughts.
So the pressures that we feel, I think, man.
And how can we help as Black women, as your spouses, friends, stuff like that?
We didn't just say the pressures.
We did.
Okay. I thought we were about to say pressures all over again.
Like,
were we?
What I'm gonna say is
maybe we didn't. I'm confused.
Some of the we did say some of the pressures.
Okay,
but I don't think we identify like
the church one,
church and society, like in that we talked about like our experience. Like,
that's true.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
So when you said the 5P thing, that was church, right?
Well,
provider,
that's
priest.
Like the example, but it's not the ones we see. You know what I'm saying?
I'll just
we
didn't speak from my personal experiences. I'm gonna just go real quick. I would say the biggest pressure for me, I think we've talked about this on the pod before.
Maybe.
But I would say for me, it's more so just like vision, like just having a vision. Because like before I got married, obviously I said I'm married, so a lot of the stuff is going to pertain to my marriage. But before I was married, you know, having a vision for yourself is easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I want to do. This is, you know, how I plan on getting there. Blah 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 blah. Cool. But then, like, now you have to factor in your spouse.
Yep.
You got to factor in, like, you know, your future children.
Yep.
So now you got to factor in, like, you know, so it's just like so many things that I'm thinking about, like having a vision for our life, the type of life I want us to have,
even
type
when
of life
you're
I want.
Dating.
You said what?
Even when you're dating, you know,
even when you're dating,
term dating, I guess.
Yeah.
Fresh in a relationship, you may not consider that person as much,
Mm-hmm.
but
that's real.
After some time,
that's true.
Yeah, that's real.
Factor.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's more so just the pressure of like always knowing what's next, like having that 5-year plan, 10-year, 15, whatever the case may be. I think it's just, and also being able to communicate that at the same time. So it's just like being able to communicate that to your girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other, wife, husband, whoever. It's just like having that pressure to like clearly communicate it. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's just like I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm still hearing from God. I'm still trying to see if this is working, if it's not working. But it's just like I feel like how a woman can help in that situation. Sorry to jump to the next question, but I feel like
it's the same question.
It's just being same question. I think it's more so just supporting, man. Like just support your husband, support your Black man, support the Black brothers out here. You know what I'm saying? Like speak to our, you know, you said what?
I said or white.
Or white. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Love is Blind.
Man.
Everyone. You know what I'm saying? Because I think, sorry, I'm sounding a little stuffy now, but I think it's important to feel like your spouse or your
Corona, you gotta chill, bro.
Whoa, God forbid.
I don't drink beer, bro.
What? Yeah, keep going, bro.
Wow.
I'm gonna just wrap this up.
Current events.
What I'm saying? But I think it's important to support your significant other in the decision making. I think it's important to support them in their goal setting, whatever the case may be. It's just like really just affirming us in our decisions and what we're trying to do. But I think it's more so that's where doubt comes in. where it's just like, man, like I really feel like I'm incompetent, or I really feel like this wasn't a great idea, or I really feel like this decision that we made to do this or to do that was detrimental to our family. It's just like we just need more support. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like again, like a lot of us are stepping into things we've never done before for the first time, and there's already pressure in that in itself. And then the pressure of like knowing how to do it is another thing. So I think it's just more so just even if you're a spouse or a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, that has like that's not really sure about like the decision that person is trying to make, just trust them. You know what I'm saying? Like trust God. Sometimes people don't allow their spouse to fail. You know what I'm saying? Like they just want to prevent everything from happening. Like, no, we shouldn't do this. No. It's just like, nah, like let's learn. Let's learn together. You know what I'm saying? Like,
really struggling.
And let's not always try to prevent, you know what I'm saying, things from happening when good things can come out of it.
Yeah, no, I would just say give people room to just ask questions. Just take initiative and ask questions. I think women just ask men questions. I think sometimes guys will come out with it. Sometimes we won't. Sometimes, we know how to answer the questions. But just like actual questions about things that we may care about or may not talk about. Like just open-ended questions like, when was the last time you asked somebody you were in a relationship, where do you see yourself 3 years from now? Or like, what's something that you've been like thinking about heavily this week? What's been on your mind like heavily, even if that person doesn't seem like distracted or anything? Because, a lot of times people will I remember I was going through a lot, and one of my mentor figures, he was like, man, I can't tell that you're going through anything because you have very, strong, like you look like you're doing well, you can look like that. And then, I didn't, because I had told him just something I was going through years ago. And he was like, I wouldn't have never thought that this was an issue for you. But, because he said that. So I think regardless of how people are going, I think we just have to do a better job of taking the initiative of like, just asking questions like, okay, so like, how are you doing? Or just remembering things for people. I know you had that class that you were trying to do or get that certification. How's that going? Just being more intentional with questions. And I think that's how you give people the room. You give, you ask those questions.
Because you're showing you care.
Right. And you're showing that you're waiting for them to answer them. And then that way, I think after that happens a lot, that person becomes accommodated to just saying it. Yeah. Sometimes because they know now through asking questions that there's room for that within the space of your friendship, relationship, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? The question? Nah, yeah, it was third question. I guess I'll share my experiences on the pressure side. Dang. That's a good question. I think for me, I don't really succumb to pressure because I like. Let me all right. Let me say this. I'm not the type.
Both look at him across the room.
I'm not the type to like. I think there's a lot of time. There's pressures put on timelines, which to an extent I understand. And I think a lot of people be feeling the pressure of like, oh, you have to pursue. Okay, you gotta make the next decision. All right, you gotta do this, do that. But then don't really take into consideration or like thought about the actual relationship type stuff. So it's just like the pressures of you got to keep things moving. You're the one that got to like keep it going type stuff. Shout out to Mommy Hope. But yeah, so like a lot of the pressure was like, I guess the pressure of like the man leads, the man pursues, which yes, it's true. I think that a lot of that is true. You lead, you pursue. As men, that's just what we're called to do, and that's like in our nature, right? But I think sometimes we harp so much on it to the point where it puts a lot of pressure that you got to be 100% together. Like you gotta, and I guess that kind of showed in the previous question or the previous answer. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta have everything together. You gotta make sure you got the vision for everything that you guys are gonna do. You got the 5-10 year plan. You got your relationship with God got to be 100. You got to talk to him every morning, 5 a.m. to 5:30. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to have everything on track, and then you got to pursue your wife after that. You got to be romantic. You got to make sure she's posting on IG all the flowers you getting her, all the type of stuff. I'm not saying that's the pressure. Like people don't say that vocally. You know what I'm saying? But those are some of the pressures that people may feel. Like you got to lead, you got to pursue, you got to be 100% with God. You got to be right. and then you got to be 100% sure with your significant other. She got to be happy all the time.
And if
all
you
that.
have kids,
Yeah, and then you got to be
a good dad.
Yeah,
You know
what I'm saying. So I think the pressure is like we harp a lot on it, like lead, pursue, vision. So then like we take it upon ourselves. It's like, okay, we got to do this, that, and that. And sometimes in some situations that may be like, especially even like early on relationships, it's like pursue, and then you get into the like you've been pursuing so much, like you're just like it becomes a burden. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's not. I've heard from some people like sometimes it may not even be reciprocated because the other person in the relationship so used to the other person pursuing, and they kind of get stagnant. They start dropping off. It's like, okay, they got everything planned. They'll do this. They'll do that. And it becomes a burden. It becomes tiresome. And now you're just like you don't know what's wrong with you. But at the back of it, it's like you've been so harping on leading and pursuing so much that you become drained to the point that you're just questioning, like, why am I feeling like this? You know what I'm saying?
Or if you're, capable.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If you're capable too.
To do all this, like you start second guessing yourself and your insecurities start to, poke out.
Right.
And then things, it's just, you start going down.
So I think one thing that helps is like, yes, men pursue. That's a fact. No ifs, ands, or but we forget the other side. It's like a consistent pursuit from both sides. Like Jesus pursued us, and us as the church, like we're pursuing God as well, right? That's what makes the relationship. So it's not like Jesus is just pursuing you, and then you just sitting back for the ride, chilling. You know what I'm saying? Literally, like that's not what it is. It's a double pursuit. Yeah. One leads in it, but both have equal pursuit. Is what I'm saying. So I think those are one of the pressures that I guess I'm happy because I kind of and I can kind of like understand and kind of like know that is one of the pressures. Yeah. Because once you're identified, it's easy. I don't say easier, but it becomes a little better to handle it and to kind of identify it. But yeah.
That's real. We got one more question.
I guess that's me, right?
Yes, sir.
Dang. I didn't even have it. Katrina low-key stole my question.
Did I really?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But it's all good.
Dang, my bad.
I would say, all right, so one question is, how would you handle a situation where your spouse-to-be does not tell you the magnitude of their debt until just weeks before the wedding? Wow.
How would you handle a situation?
First of all, look. You need to make sure you're asking those questions before, right? If you get engaged unexpectedly, you need to be asking those questions.
Unexpectedly?
No, I mean, no, because as a woman, you may not know when he's going to. It's an engagement surprise. It's not always planned.
Well, y'all both played yourself because
right. You should be asking that question. Asked. Come on. No, you shouldn't be learning about nobody's debt. No.
Next question.
That's what I got.
Like,
no. Right.
I'll say, DJ Khaled voice, you played yourself.
Yeah.
You played yourself.
Pew, pew, pew.
It's like, nah, I mean, honestly, like, what I'll say is, like, I don't want to, all right, let me take that back. You didn't play yourself. Maybe you just didn't understand what proper dating looks like. You know what I'm saying? Or proper pursuit looks like, because those are things that you talk about before you even drop the knee. Because that money can really...
Man, they can make or break some things.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. Like,
yeah, man.
Money is the root of a lot of problems in marriages.
A lot of setbacks.
A lot of setbacks. And even in families. So in proper dating, like, you learn how to deal with all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, they just get caught up in the feelings. They get caught up in the honeymoon stages, and they don't realize, like, life is real. Marriage is real. You know what I'm saying? Marriage is real. And, you thought you loved somebody till you figure out they went to...
100K in debt?
What?
Jeez.
But
say bye-bye to that house you was planning on getting.
Right, because after you hear that, you really got to choose to love this person. Like, okay, after you pondered it, had a little cry session or whatever it may be that you need to have, you make that decision like, okay, I still love this person. I still want to endure this battle or endure this, adversity with her or with him, and then figure out like, okay, how are we going to do this? It kind of reminds me of that I don't even want to go into that, but yeah, I'll say I think it's just like a more so a problem of just not knowing how to date correctly.
I think also low key. I respect what you're saying, bro. But I feel like low key there may be a level of just dishonesty.
That's true too.
You know what I'm saying? Like son, if someone you're knowing you're about to
That's
become
a red flag.
Yeah,
that's also
a red flag.
That's also proper dating because like you need to be if you're being dishonest when you're dating, like that you're not dating right.
Yeah, but I feel like that's more of a moral thing. I don't even think it's like a dating thing. I think it's just like
it's a relationship thing.
It's a relationship. It's a relationship.
Getting a little complicated now. Y'all.
It shouldn't. Because in my head, I'm just like, if I know I'm about to become one with someone, and I'm knowing like this debt is going to affect them in some way or form, then it's just like I need to give them a proper heads up.
Because it's like insecurity.
3 weeks before a wedding is not the move, bro.
But the thing is, it's
like
that person also. Let's be real. That person could have actually waited until they got married and then said, "Hey, by the way, I got this debt and you're already married." No, but like think about it. If someone is telling you before you get married, it's because they're feeling convicted and they feel like they need to tell you.
But you're engaged
and
at
so
this
hold
point.
on. But the thing is,
I
you
dropped
still
the
have
money on the ring.
You dropped the money on the ring, or maybe you accepted the ring and you're like, wait a minute, you didn't tell me this before we sent out these invitations, right? But the thing is, you still have a choice. Is this a pattern of dishonesty that you're noticing, or is this something where this is like a one-time thing? He or she was feeling burdened by it. They felt like they needed to confess because they realized what they were doing by withholding the information wasn't right. I think there's a lot of factors here at play. And just because the person didn't say it, before you got engaged doesn't necessarily mean that they were trying to be malicious. Maybe they were just afraid. And that could just be a conversation about fear and insecurity, or this could be a conversation about habitual dishonesty.
But I feel like that's still being dishonest, even if it's like you're afraid to let the person know, because at the back of your head, you should tell the person, but you're afraid to tell them. That's not being honest. That's not being honest. I'm sure I've done. My wife is whispering things that I've done.
I just want to.
I'm sure. Just because I may have done something before doesn't mean
I'm not
it was
whispering
the right
things that
thing
he's
to
done
do.
because that may sound really
that's
wild.
No, I can speak to the old me. You know what I'm saying? Like I can speak to stuff I've done in my past that I'm not proud of. Obviously, I'm talking about like people now, people who need to hear this stuff now. Like I feel like if you're afraid to tell someone about something that maybe has a huge effect in your marriage, I feel like there's still a level of dishonesty, at the end of the day, because it's just like you should tell the person, but you're afraid to be honest with the person, so you would rather wait to tell the person
because
that's still dishonesty. Whether you're afraid, whether you're insecure, it's still being dishonest.
I agree with you. It is still dishonesty, but the fact that they said something before you were locked in,
my God,
I think that shows a level of integrity to an extent. And granted, that's baseline integrity. You should have told me before we got engaged. But at the end of the day, the fact that they told you before you said I do means that they're still trying to salvage the purity of the relationship.
I feel like it's integrity to
that needs to be not only commended, but I think you then, as the person, will then need to confide in someone that they look up to and say, hey, this is the situation I'm going through. It's a little difficult for me right now because I'm feeling XYZ. I'm feeling betrayed. I'm feeling what. And then just say like, hey, I need you to pray with me about this because I don't know if this is a decision that I want to walk into. This is the rest of my life. I don't know if this person has more stuff that they haven't told me, or if it's just this thing and they were really afraid.
Little do you know.
I feel that's real. I just feel hold on, let's just get this one more thought off and then I'm done. I just feel like at the end of the day, dang, what was I about to say? At the end of the day, it's just like if you're telling me 3 weeks before we get married, it's just like, yeah, there's integrity there, but you're almost leaving me with no choice. You know what I'm saying?
You have a choice.
Of course,
it's a hard choice.
Obviously, we have a
very
choice.
hard choice because you're putting pressure on the person.
You're putting pressure on the person.
Listen, there are people every day who send out invitations and they don't get married and they get married to other people. And you know what? That's okay. Because at the end of the day, you need to think about your life. You need to think about your future. You need to think about what you want.
I would say yes, appreciate it to an extent, but also you got to realize this person could have saved a lot of time, a lot of money. Not saying that you're going to break up with this person, but the fact that you tell them now when basically you guys are 75% of the way there, you drop so much
80,
money.
It's 95.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks. You're
3
basically
weeks out.
You got your license already.
Right, you got the license.
You got your license already. And
you can get that annulled if you need
deposit
to.
on your apartment already.
Yeah, but
you ain't do anything bad.
Yeah, but you're it's kind of you're kind of telling somebody, oh yeah, by the way, this.
Yeah.
Like when it's basically like for example, we can be saying that, for example, me and Sam we're going somewhere, right? Sam says he's gonna come pick me up and I'm gonna go with him to this move, right? So Sam could come get me and I can get in the car and then Sam is driving and then he pulls up somewhere else and he's like, oh yeah, I gotta be here for like 35, 40 minutes and then the party is over in like an hour. Right, so you're only gonna get to the party with 15 minutes left. If Sam would have told me,
has this happened to you, Moses?
No. I'm saying if Sam would have told me, before he gets me that I gotta make this stop. We're probably not gonna make it to the party like to enjoy it at all. And I would have been able to make a decision rather than me getting in a car and I'm sick now because I have no place. I'm in the car, bro. What am I gonna jump out?
But this is not the same situation because he could have came to your house and said, "Hey, by the way, I'm stopping XYZ place before we go to this party." Then you have the decision to be like, oh, nah, man, go ahead. I'm going to get an Uber.
But that's the thing. The point we're making is we're not telling the person until it's basically too late. That, of course, we could do that.
It's not too late. You still got time to commute.
You just have to make a harder decision. I could be like, we're on the way there. I could be like, dang, Sam, let me out. I'm going to take an Uber. Whatever. That's a hard decision to make, but I can make that decision. But how likely am I going to make that decision knowing that now I got to come out of my bread?
We need to be stronger individuals to make our own choices and not care about other people's perception of these said choices.
That's a very...
it's an expensive choice, but guess what? Your peace of mind is also expensive.
You're right. But, hey, man, at the end of the day...
Weigh your costs.
At the end of the day, throw it all... Well, at the end of the day... Find a mentor, actually, because they could have saved you that time and they could have saved you that effort. Y'all talk about that in marriage counseling before y'all even, you know what I'm saying? So how I would handle it is I would try to figure out why you waited so long to tell me.
Yep.
And find out the root of that because that could manifest itself in the actual marriage.
Come on.
And then that's when you really have to make a choice based off of, them not telling you is a smaller picture behind what the real issue is.
That's true.
So figure that out first, and then but that
that's anyways.
But
I said my spiel on that.
Yeah, man, this was a good episode. Man.
It was a very good episode.
Katrina, thank you for coming through.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're a family.
Yes, we are. Actually, Moses and I are cousins.
We are low key.
So there's that.
Yeah, but yeah, man, Katrina, shout out for coming. We thank you. If you listen to this and you made it this far, we appreciate you. Yeah, if you got any questions, dilemmas, whatever it is that you feel like you want to send over to get our POV, mind you, we don't know all the answers, as you can tell, but we're willing to walk with you.
Come on.
Yeah, we're willing. We're willing to walk with you through it. We'll figure it out. We'll talk through it. We'll hash it out. But yeah, send it to us. We have our email at greaterpod@proj330.com. We also have the voice note option where you can send stuff through Anchor. But yeah, man, we want to hear anything that's coming from you guys, whether it's feedback, words of affirmation, question, whatever it may be. But yeah, man, we love y'all. Yeah.
Share this pod with a friend of a friend. The more ears, the better. We appreciate it. And that's it.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Shout out to Hope as well. Shout out to Gabe, who's not here right now because he's helping. He's fathering his child.
Yes.
Hashtag girl dad. But yeah, man, it's the Greater Podcast, the 4x4 episode, and we are gone.